Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm at DBS Bristol and I'm doing a workshop on mixing Atmos in film. If you don't map the renderer, does everyone like know the RMU well, like the software? Have you managed?
We haven't really sort of delved into it yet. We kind of just
Yeah.
touched on it a bit.
So, ooh, uh, in terms of like just general Atmos workflow, um, so you have beds and objects.
Yeah.
Which sum together to make your like what we call it a print master, but your like mix is your print master. Um, and when I was saying about like getting into the whole idea of like the disciplines of like splitting out your stems, dialogue, music, and effects, it's like really important to get on top of that because if I just show you like my beds here, so I have like all my beds and then all my objects, and these are like mapped within the renderer.
Right.
So Pro Tools and the RMU like always need to be matching in terms of like how you set up your inputs and outputs. And if you open a Pro Tools session and you don't have the RMU or they like don't map, you'll lose all your objects and then you lose all the automation.
Right.
So I think like one thing we do is we make like on a session, I always save the output of the session as like a export IO. And I always do that, so I always have a backup of my session because basically, if you don't, whenever you open a mix session in film, the first thing I'll always do is like open IO page, restore from session. This will like be your best friend because if you if you open a session and do this, it will bring back all of your buses, all your IO page, and even though every room is different, like in terms of like opening different Atmos sessions, you don't want to, you look because I had a thing before where basically we mixed this theatrical mix at Pinewood, and I was doing the near field mix when this first come out, and said mixed it in Atmos, and then I had to take like the beds and objects and take it and then mix it for TV, and you know. For ages, I was just like, "There's no automation. Like, what's going on?" And and I was figuring out finally, like, "Oh, it's because these two aren't mapped together." So I'm just, and then that's your like whole mix gone because all the objects have disappeared. So, yeah, and just again, it's like mixing in Atmos. It's just a boring thing of like, I've got sorry, in my session we did earlier, I basically have like all these tones, so I can literally go like like all my stems. When I blast this into, I mean, I'm going to mute it so we don't. Uh, you can see here, it's hitting. Um, that's a very important thing. It's all like signal flow, and then in terms of like, um, yeah, I guess just like working with objects. I find it easier just having all my objects as separate object tracks. I know, and then you've got your panning in a place. If I need to like a normal thing that you'll deliver in film is you'll have like beds and objects, and you'd have to like record out or bounce out stems of your beds and stems of your objects, and they all need to have the object automation. So it's just good to like, a lot of like housekeeping, keeping everything tidy and in one place. And yeah, and in terms of like panning automation, just like have fun with it and try and do some cool stuff because you can literally, you can move it anywhere, move it up and down. There's some like settings where you can like make things like arc and do all this cool stuff. So yeah, you can do some really interesting things with it. Also, if you're like layering sounds, what I would do in terms of Atmos is like take a bunch of tracks and then send them to an aux track and then make that aux track your object,
Right.
because then you can have as many layers as you want, but each object can only, this is getting really confusing, but you can only have one like track assigned as an object. So you can feed as many tracks into that object. So if you want to, like helicopter, you don't want a helicopter to be like loads of different objects because that would be a pain trying to pan it all around and do that. So you just have like 10 tracks of helicopter go into one aux. Yeah.